Welcome to my LGBT lesbian channel. The series Checkmate, Stripper and Dance for Me are voiced for you in full history. Thank you for your comments, reactions and subscription to my channel. Have a nice day everyone. Camilla Collins' point of view. I felt Lauren's arms wrapping me carefully as the rain fell over our heads. The car with the man had just gotten lost amid the darkness of that deserted field. I felt my body being lifted, causing me to sit. Camilla, look at me. I opened my eyes and stared into that pair of so worried green eyes. Even with the darkness that surrounded us, I stared at her partially illuminated face by the lit headlights of her car, seeing the raindrops running down her white skin. Even knowing that none of that was real, and that I was never in danger, I felt incredibly safe in the arms of that woman, as if she could surface me from that quagmire of lies and rancor. Everything is okay, they are gone. I'm sorry, I let out almost automatically, without realizing. Lauren frowned, joining her eyebrows in the center of her forehead. She stared at me with a confused expression, but soon took care of shaking her head. I felt my breath falter in pure fear. For what, Camilla? For making you go through this, I put my face in the crook of her neck, interrupting my words. You don't have to apologize, Cams. I'll get you out of here, okay? Everything is fine now. She knelt on the dirty ground, and with all her strength lifted me up, putting my arms over her shoulders while wrapping my waist with one of her arms. I walked with her towards her car, which was in the middle of the sandy road. We were completely wet and dirty. Lauren opened the car door and settled me in the passenger seat, to then run towards the opposite side. I groaned in pain due to the burning on the cuts in my mouth and eyebrow. Unlike all the rest, those were real. Lauren settled in her seat clumsily, spattering water inside the car as she removed the waterproof fabric she was wearing. I'll take you straight to the hospital, and from there I'll call everyone. Her hands came to my face, sliding her thumb delicately on my skin. Now I had a better view of Lauren's face thanks to the light that illuminated the interior of the vehicle. She really looked worried, which only increased my load of guilt. I closed my eyes, feeling her soft caresses comforting me. You'll stay with me? I asked. I'll do my best for that to happen, Cams. Carefully, she stretched her body, grabbing a sort of coat that was in the back seat and extending it towards me. Put this on, it's cold and it's not good for you to stay wet like that. But what about you? Don't worry, Camilla, I'm fine, okay? I nodded slowly, still staring at her green eyes. Lauren had a nervous expression and somewhat tired. I lowered the straps of my red dress down to my waist, staying only in my bra. I received her eyes on me, but unlike the other times, they didn't show desire, only concern. The coat was part of the woman's uniform at the precinct, its long sleeves and thick fabric warmed me along with the heater turned on by her. How is Christopher? He's great, she said without even looking at me. The car was started, and we drove far away from that huge empty field. The place chosen for the rescue was a bit far from the city center. We still had some good minutes alone before the uproar among police and hospital started. Lauren was serious, somewhat tense. She remained silent for a long time until I accommodated myself closer to her body, resting my head on her shoulder. The wet clothes gave me chills, and I just wanted to have her closer to warm me. I was very worried about you, she said while keeping her eyes on the road. You were? I closed my eyes, feeling my head buzzing with the damn guilt. Lying was an art that I dominated very easily. I never felt guilty and much less bothered by omitting or denying real facts, not until Lauren showed up. I felt her move a little more to the side, as if she wanted to feel me closer. I wrapped her arm with mine, feeling the warmth of her body in my hands. Very. I was going crazy without news from you, without knowing if you were alive. I wish you didn't have to go through that, I whispered sincerely, as I slid the tip of my fingers on Lauren's arm. She looked away from the long and straight road to look at me for a few seconds. I couldn't explain why, but something in her eyes mesmerized me, hypnotized me. That mix of greenish tones swallowed me whole, as if we connected through our gaze. Then the road stole her attention again, making our connection break for the time being. These things happen, Camilla. I was trained for this, but you. Can we not talk about the kidnapping? I just need to forget. All right, we won't talk about it. I took a deep breath when I felt her hand gently hold mine. Lauren intertwined our fingers, moving her thumb to caress my skin, while her attention remained on the road the whole time. Now she transpired calmness. Her gaze was serene, as if she was sure that everything was all right, and it really was. After a few minutes, we were entering the parking lot of the hospital in New York. On the way, Lauren passed the information to Allie, one of her colleagues at the precinct, who informed that soon she would meet us with the rest of the people, including Christopher. We're here, she said as soon as she stopped the car. I didn't want to come to the hospital, I grumbled. Lauren raised one eyebrow with a reproachful look as she removed the seatbelt. You're bruised, you need to take care of it. I could do that at home. I'd ask someone for help. Someone as in your husband? That troglodyte? She asked seriously, staring at me with an uncomfortable expression. A smile was born in the corner of my lips, which slowly licked before tilting my body towards hers. I was thinking about you, I whispered. Me? I nodded, letting my gaze fall on her lips, now parted, to then look up towards her eyes again. Lauren could make me nervous just with her presence. Yes, you. If I could, I'd stay with you after all this. She swallowed hard, closing her eyes for a few instants, which allowed me to analyze how the deputy was incredibly beautiful, even being somewhat messy now. I felt how she was also nervous in my presence. Her breathing became heavier, becoming evident in the rise and fall of her chest. Her lips time or another pressed together, perhaps looking for the right words. We are not alone for that. Everyone will want to talk to you. Her words came out softly, whispered, very close to my lips. I slid the tip of my tongue over my bottom lip before inching a little closer. I could feel her breath against my face, causing that tingling in my skin. I wanted to touch her. Let's take advantage since we're still alone. Lauren didn't stand on ceremony. I felt her hands on my face, pulling me towards her. Her soft and delicate lips pressed against mine, making me gasp in appreciation. Kissing her was an addiction, and damned and delicious addiction. Her hand slid to my nape, letting the tip of her fingers tangle between the strands of my hair. She pulled them a little hard, just enough to drive me completely crazy. Her tongue was soon entering my mouth skillfully, snaking over mine gently. It wasn't a hectic kiss, but it wasn't calm either. There was an intensity load between us that I couldn't explain. One kiss was enough to take me off orbit. We better stop, she whispered breathlessly. No, we don't need to stop. I held her nape, preventing her from pulling away. I was practically leaning over her, Lauren had her hands on my waist and her eyes on mine. My chest rose and fell in a heavy breathing, panting. The deputy looked around, probably checking if there was any movement outside. The parking lot was outdoors, right in front of the hospital. There were few cars, 6 at most. The movement of people was almost nil, which gave us more privacy. Camilla, I want to. Trust me, I want to a lot. But you're hurt, and soon the others will arrive. We need to check in the hospital. I don't want to have sex, Lauren. I just want you to kiss me, to touch me. She didn't say anything else, leaving only our eyes locked on each other. I felt her hands squeezing my waist, and it was exactly the answer that I was waiting to take her lips again in a breathtaking kiss. I let out a groan of pain when I felt the cut on my lips during the more strong and intense kiss. Lauren quickly broke the kiss to look at me. Is it hurting a lot? A little, I said truthfully. Let's go in, okay? Take care of those cuts and the bruises, she whispered as she touched the sore spot on my cheek. Before allowing myself to be taken by the men I hired, Dinah made question to mark my face with strong slaps. The injuries needed to be real in case I really wanted to convince the others that I had really been kidnapped. I had a cut on my eyebrow, and another in the corner of my lips, not to mention the bruises on my cheek. Look awful. You do, but it's impressive how you can still look beautiful and attractive, she said with a chuckle. I pulled away from her, settling myself slowly in the passenger seat. Lauren was calmer, which made me more tranquil. We got out of the car, and she still helped me walking towards the hospital. Nurses took care of helping me immediately as soon as they learned my last name. Influences helped in these hours of need. Lauren followed the entire process, which didn't take long. I took a shower, changed my clothes for a robe given in the hospital, and I was resting in one of the rooms. According to the doctors, I'd need to stay and rest for a few hours, and Lauren agreed, promising that I would do it. I was lying on a soft bed, while the TV played some show that I didn't even pay attention to. I just talked to Brandon, they are on their way. They were delayed because Christopher was giving some depositions and, since you are accompanied by a police officer, there was no need to send the other girls, Lauren said as soon as she entered my room. Can you stop a little? She gave me a confused look, expressed clearly by her frown. What do you mean? Come here, I spoke as I patted the bedsheet, right next to me. Lauren stared at me, letting a smile escape her lips. The woman walked over to my bed, sitting beside me. I was sitting, which left us practically at the same height. I have a feeling you haven't stopped since you left that place. I can only stop when I have things solved, Camilla. I know, but I think you need to rest, Agent Yaregui. I'll do that when I get home. You better. Leave your heroin cape aside for a few hours and just rest. Only if you stop being a damsel in distress for a few hours, she said as she let out a chuckle. I'm more than a damsel in distress, Lauren. She lifted her head and stared into my eyes. We stared at each other for a few seconds, which I had the feeling lasted more than they should. Lauren didn't say anything, just smiled. I closed my eyes when I felt one of her hands touching my chin, caressing it lightly. You were during these days. Yes, but I don't want to talk about it. Then we won't talk about it. I want you to get better, Camilla, she said as she held one of my hands, making a soft caress. Oh. If you like that I voiced the continuation of the series Stripper and want me to continue, please like and write a comment on the video. This will be an incentive to continue working on translation and dubbing.